Today on the TMZ Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the TMZ Podcast. I'm Charlie Cotton and today I'm joined by TMZ Hip Hop's own Trent Clark.
Hey.
How are you, mate?
I'm doing good. It's Friday.
This is the first time we've had you on the podcast. You are the head of our hip hop department.
Absolutely.
You are our entire hip hop department.
Yeah, I'm probably the first hip hop historian that TMZ has had. Maybe?
You're a hip hop historian.
Oh yeah, for sure. I've been doing this since 2007.
That's how far it goes back to history.
Yeah, I mean, for me, writing about hip hop professionally, yeah, for sure.
That's awesome, man. Well, we got you in because we got some hip hop story up the top. We're talking about Travis Scott. He's come out with his latest album, and there's lots of storylines involved in that. We're also going to talk about Bronny James and give you an update on his health condition. And finally, we're going to talk about Todd Chrisley. He hates prison, and we're going to tell you why.
It's lit, like Travis Scott says.
So Travis Scott, he came out with his album today, Utopia.
Yeah.
It dropped at midnight last night. And he's obviously trying to make a few headlines by some of the lyrics he has in there. Specifically, I'm thinking about he flamed Timothée Chalamet, Kylie's new guy. He said in one of the lyrics on a song of his, he goes, here I go, chocolate AP and chocolate got the V's, got the Willy Wonka factories, burn an athlete like it's calories, find another flame hot as me, bitch.
Hey, bars.
Was that bars?
Bars.
Let's hear it from the man himself.
Chocolate AP and chocolate the V's. Got the Willy Wonka factory. Burn that athlete like it's calories. Find another flame out as me. Bitch.
So it's obviously about Timothée Chalamet because he's playing Wonka in the new Wonka movie.
I mean, if your baby mom bounced with someone who put that uniform on, it would be kind of hard to swallow.
It is, man. I mean, that's going...
Like chocolate. Sometimes.
yeah. Well, I mean, Timothée Chalamet and Travis Scott couldn't be more different. Like, I'm tempted to say it's just like black and white. But it's just like they could not be, they're poles apart.
Yeah.
And so if he comes out with a new album, he's got to add a few lyrics about it.
Well, it's been almost 5 years since he's dropped an album.
Wow.
Astro came out in 2018, and he had his whole controversy with the festival. Album delays with the pandemic. So, he definitely wants to make a statement. It's one of the most anticipated albums of the year. And so, he needs these streams.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, he's going to get him because all anyone's talking about in hip-hop today.
Facts.
He also talked about, he had Beyonce on the album.
Yeah.
Did we know that?
No, surprise. Beyonce moves in secrecy, like the Secret Service,
Yeah.
CIA. You never know when she's dropping. You never know how she's moving. And she's really stingy with the features. You know?
Really?
Yeah, Beyonce doesn't just do songs with anybody. She doesn't let, her last album, she didn't have any features on it.
On her album, she didn't put any features.
Yeah, she did samples, paying homage to people, but, actual... in the studio with anybody? No.
You think he would have reached out to her and said, hey, can you do us a favor?
Well, I think everybody reaches out to Beyonce.
Yeah.
Every time they do an album with that, wish on a star prayer that, she'll say yes, but she said yes to Trav.
Yeah, and people are saying that the song she's on specifically is almost a little bit like her album Renaissance. Like it has that dance flair as part of it.
It does. This Utopia album, it kind of sounds self-explanatory, but it does have an amalgam of sounds. It goes from raging, as you would expect a summer desert day to be, but also at nighttime, and it has those chill vibes like the Beyonce track.
I like that. It's layered. Do you think he's doing crossing genres a bit in the hip hop album?
Yeah, I mean, he has a song with Bad Bunny on The Weeknd, Circus Maximus. That's a bit on the pop side, with a little Latin tinge to it. It's Travis has always been known to do more than just straight up and down hip hop.
Is that right?
Yeah, he's more of a instrument in himself. He's the instrument.
Interesting. So you think potentially we can credit Beyonce with the dance, element in hip hop these days? But everyone's sort of like, myself included, I wasn't like the biggest fan of Renaissance.
Right.
I liked her older stuff more. But now if Travis is also adding those sort of sounds in, then maybe she's on a new wave.
We were on the same page, my good sir.
We are?
I'm a big Beyonce fan. I thought Renaissance kind of fell short of her standards. Still a good album, but at the same time, her scraps can be considered someone's gold. You know,
Right.
like if an artist lesser than Beyonce would have dropped Renaissance, they probably would have won 12 Grammys from it.
Right.
So
Yeah, I mean, it almost elevates her album that Travis is almost doing a bit of an ode to it, or he clearly enjoyed it so much as he's getting her on a track on his album that sounds similar-ish in vibe.
or she could have said, "This is all I'm doing. This is my sound. So take it or leave it, bro."
Right, true. He also discusses Ye. He said he'd vote for Ye over Biden because he's loyal.
Yeah, Kanye, surprisingly, do his, ironically, that last track was called Meltdown, and we're talking about Kanye, but, Kanye still kind of had his supporters throughout his meltdown from 2022, and apparently Travis is one of them. Interesting dynamic, because, he does have kids with Kylie, but, he's still cool with, Kanye.
True. It's interesting him sort of like dissing, say, Timothée Chalamet when he does have to sort of co-parent with Kylie. It's almost like it's rattling the hornet's nest almost, sort of like, do you want to have a cordial relationship or not?
I mean, I think he can. I think Travis has no issue thinking that he can, knock down Timothée, get him out of the picture. I think he thinks he's just a passerby or so.
He thinks
what they call it, easy targets, soft targets. Yeah, so that was.
She's just branching out and trying something a little different, and then now she's going to go back to her main man.
Oh, I mean, he's going to have the hottest movie of Christmas.
Hottest movie of Christmas?
So far, Willy Wonka.
Oh, Wonka.
Yeah.
True. Man, they're two like pretty big in their field guys that she's got.
Hottest rapper, hottest actor.
Yeah. When sort of like rappers or hip hop or anything, when they sit down to sort of like pen an album like this, do you think he'd be consciously thinking, what lyrics can I write that are going to get picked up? Or this is going to be picked up.
Oh, absolutely.
Let's do that.
Absolutely. And especially, their relationship, Kylie and Timothée, is pretty recent. So, he's been trying to finish this album for years now. So, he was probably scrapping songs and rising new material to the top. So, yeah, he saw the report on TMZ and probably got straight to the studio.
Travis Scott loves TMZ, man.
It's lit.
Now, the $1 million question. Is this album good enough to make people forget about Astroworld and what happened there?
Yeah, I think people have already, kind of not necessarily moved on, but yeah, they've moved on. Travis has done several shows. He just did Rolling Loud Miami. The album is out. He attempted to do something in Egypt. It didn't work out, and that had nothing to do with Astroworld whatsoever. So I think that tragedy is just a footnote in his career at this point.
Yeah.
Rest in peace to those victims, obviously. But yeah, like tragedies happen at concerts a little too frequently, and Travis is just one of those stories.
So it's interesting. Like we always talk about in TMZ, like is talent the loudest thing? And if you're talented, and if you put out a good song, or if you sort of act in a good movie, like Johnny Depp, maybe you can whitewash everything that's happened before, make people forget about past incidences that might not be too glowing or too positive. You can do that if you're good enough at your craft. So I was just wondering, this album just dropped. If it's going to be like, an album of albums, one of the albums of the year, potentially then in people's minds who aren't sort of like linked to Astroworld in a profound way.
Well, I think Travis is, he's one of the last Mohicans in the hip hop sense that he has a big personality, big celebrity behind him, but also a lot of hit records, a lot of well-known classic songs, even arguably some classic albums, Birds in the Trap and McKnight, Astroworld, those are hit albums. This album, I really didn't even get to finish it. I was trying to, listen on Spotify, and
you got called on in to do the podcast.
Yeah. I did that too, but last night when it dropped, it was, everything was crashing,
Oh, it was all crashing last night? Everyone trying to listen to it?
Yeah, so I I don't think this is a hard prediction, but this album will go #1 on the Billboard 200. I predict.
Right. You didn't drop a hit album unless Spotify crashes, basically.
Facts, and I think people will be dissecting it, over dissecting it. I mean, like the Timothée
Chalamet.
diss, that diss is plain as day. People will be dissecting other lyrics, so they'll be listening at least all week.
Interesting. Okay, on to our next story. Bronny James, LeBron James' son. Well, he's out of hospital. He's at home recovering from what appears to be a cardiac arrest. Very scary situation. So yeah, he was involved in an incident at USC on Monday morning. You know, he's training. He got drafted by USC. He committed to USC in, I think it was back in May. Hasn't played for them yet. And so at this training session, this innocuous, I don't think that anyone could have seen this coming. It just happened, this cardiac arrest. They furiously called 911, and he's at home now recovering. But very scary situation for LeBron and the whole family.
Oh, very scary stuff for, I think, just the basketball world in general. You know, TMZ Sports did a few interviews, and that the basketball community, whether it was high school, college, or professional, everybody, gravitated to the story. I'm originally from Columbus, Ohio, so
okay.
I'm Team LeBron all the way. So, when I heard this, perfectly healthy, obviously talented, skilled, up-and-coming basketball star who just happens to be the son of the greatest of all time, goes down, as he's just doing his general training, there's cause for concern there.
Absolutely, because I mean, he's not much older than 20 or so.
Yeah.
And for him to suffer something like this, such an emergency where, I mean, you can hear the panic on people's voices. Like you don't know what's going to happen when something like this just strikes. It's great that he's at home and recovering, but looking towards the future, getting back on the court, pushing yourself to your limits while training, that can seem quite daunting at this stage.
This might be a hot take, but I think the world of professional athletes, I think it moves too fast. I think the human body can, be healthy and active well into your 40s, so I think, yeah, you hit it on the head. He's probably pushing himself way too hard before his body has a chance to develop in that goal to, reach to the higher level and obviously aspire, follow his dad's footsteps. But
well, my God,
his training is kind of strenuous.
Yeah, I mean, if any kid has more pressure on their shoulders in the world, I don't know who they are, because Bronny, is the son of, like, as you say, like, potentially the best ever. And he's got the same name. Mm-hmm. His dad is hanging around in the NBA waiting for his son to, be old enough to join.
Less pressure on Bryce, because he gets to see his brother go through the ringer, kind of like in the Ball brothers. The first one, goes through the ringer, and the younger one knows the ropes.
Totally. Because, yeah, if you were Bronny, you'd be saying to yourself, the world wants this storyline of me playing on the same NBA team as my dad. I have to do everything in my power to get there. Otherwise, I'll regret it for the rest of my life. I'll be like, I'll be hated on maybe. If I'm not good enough, or if I somehow fail to help my dad achieve that goal, then I'll be the bad guy. So you can see how, like, potentially pressure and that sort of stuff contributes to someone going even harder. Obviously, we don't know if this was like a condition he had, for years coming into this.
Right.
Who knows? Well, I'm sure we'll find out more as time goes on, but definitely a scary situation, and you just hope he's okay. If he can't play to the heights that we once hoped he could, I think we all just have to be really forgiving of that, and that's life.
Yeah, injuries happen in sports, whether they're medical or physical.
On to our final story. This is my favorite story. Todd Chrisley, you remember him? Chrisley knows best, the whole family.
I do. What a downfall.
Yeah, him and his wife, Julie, they're in prison. Todd for 12 years. They had all these financial crimes, tax. They did some bad stuff financially. They both really hate prison, basically. Todd is...
No, really?
Yeah, like bad hate. I mean, if looking at them and seeing their reality show, I could tell you that these guys are not cut out for prison.
At all.
So Todd is saying now that he's being treated differently than the other inmates at his prison in Pensacola, Florida. He's saying he thinks that people are taking photos of him when he sleeps. I'm not sure how you know that. Is there a flash? Or do they even have cameras and then he gets woken up by a flash? Or how does that work?
You can hear the click. That iPhone. No, that's universal. Everybody knows that sound.
Right. He's saying he thinks his mail is being destroyed. Somehow he's not receiving his mail and must be being destroyed.
It's fan mail?
I don't know. He didn't specify who's the mail from, but I guess if you know someone sent you a letter and then the letter never arrived, maybe then you become a bit suspicious. But he's kind of blaming the prison and he's being dealt with unfairly. In prison, he's saying. He says there's bad plumbing. He says there's mold. He says there's no air conditioning and Florida be hot right now.
Facts.
So he's saying, basically, he's requesting, can I please serve out the rest of my time at home?
Oh, wow. We went from luxury from hell to luxury just like overnight. That sounds a little extreme, but at the same time, his complaints mirror a lot of what people say about prisons these days. And, Texas is also having sweltering conditions and inmates are complaining the same thing, mold, plumbing, bed bugs. At the same, I think prison should be humane, but obviously it's prison.
Right. This guy's obviously was used to quite a high-flung life with all of the finer things,
At the same time, this is kind of interesting, too. This is, quote-unquote, a white-collar crime, tax evasion, fraud, right? You would think he would be kind of like in, minimal PC. This sounds like he's in maximum security.
No, apparently he's in minimal. But, these are the things that he's struggling with.
Martha Stewart didn't have it that bad.
Right. Martha Stewart had it okay, didn't she? Or maybe she's just not a complainer.
She's more tough.
Maybe she just gets on with it. She's hard, Martha Stewart. I always thought she was hard.
Yeah.
You know what as well? Julie, his wife, says she's struggling as well. She said, her kids on a podcast were discussing, going to visit their parents at their respective prisons. And apparently Julie's having to deal with snakes. Apparently there's snakes slithering around the prison.
Is she in Florida too?
She's in Florida too. I think she's at a different prison, down the road or wherever. But apparently there's snakes slithering around the prison. And she claims that the only way they get rid of the snakes, they've got mace. They mace the snakes. That's how they get rid of them. Is that anything you've heard of in it before?
It's not, but snakes in a prison sounds like the next Samuel Jackson sequel.
Hey, I would watch that.
They can make, tell their story and make some money.
I like that a lot. Snakes in a prison. That would be a good movie, man. Oh, we got motherfucking snakes in this motherfucking prison.
Sounds like a winner to me.
Yeah. He's saying that there's Julie's saying there's asbestos in the wall. She's saying the food is awful and inedible. I basically think these guys are saying they're firing off their shots to try to get out. I think you got to do whatever you can to try to up your,
I was going to say, listening to Todd's complaints, it sounds like the typical tactic, have your lawyers stack up these complaints and have file motion to move you, I think celebrities, they should get, the word isn't special, but they should get separate treatment because of just their visibility. People are taking pictures of them. They're probably trying to sell on the outside. And, that's a violation of his privacy.
Right. Obviously, I think some people have the ability to sort of deal with those tough situations and just I've got to get through the next 12 years. Yeah. I don't have that in me. I would just I don't know what I'd do. I don't know what I'd do. I'm not cut out for that sort of stuff.
Well, you wouldn't break the law in the first place. So.
Hey, that's exactly right, Trent. That's exactly right. So I kind of feel for them, but it's also, it's a bit funny as well.
It's another part of the reality.
Yeah, get the cameras in there. They have cameras in prisons for different things. Get the cameras in there. I would watch this.
Easily.
I would watch
That's a winner.
Snakes in a Prison reality show. I would watch that for sure. On TLC.
Maybe there's good snakes and bad snakes,
Right. Oh, maybe snakes doesn't even have to be literal snakes. It can just be metaphorical, you're looking out for all those snakes. We got it, bro.
That will extend the series.
Yeah. Thank you very much for joining me today, Trent.
My pleasure.
And we'll see you all here next week.